Hello? start. I want to extend a warm welcome to every one of you. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. I would like to thank you all for joining. This gathering is actually part of our ongoing research, innovation, and commercialization project. This is made possible through a partnership with RISA and UK Aid. Over the past weeks, we've conducted a number of virtual training sessions focusing on the commercialization process. And then we've planned a series of panel sessions to look carefully into selected topics related to our research, innovation, and commercialization ecosystem. Last week, we had a policy dialogue on research, innovation, and commercialization. Today, we are looking at unlocking value from research. Our moderator today for this call is King David Amu. He is the corporate communications and marketing lead at Innoha. If you are ready, King David, the floor is yours. King David, are you here, please?
Hi, everyone.
Oh, hi.
Yes, I think I had a challenge on muting my mic for a second, but I'm glad to be here. I'm so excited, and I hope we can take it away.
Yes, you can.
Great. So hello once again, everyone, and welcome to this wonderful session that's been made possible by iSpace Foundation and its partners, the RISA and the UK International Development. Today's session is an exciting one because it borders on every aspect of our being. Every single day, there is one research going on or another. And you know, one of the questions that people normally ask is, especially on our higher levels of education where people conduct research, especially at the end of their period of study. And the question is, after presentation and getting the marks, what's next after this? You go into the libraries of our higher education institutions, and there are tons of beautiful research that has been conducted by students in partnership with academia and all of that. But you ask yourself, what is happening to this research? Beyond the confines of the educational sector, there is research that goes on in various fields. And you always want to ensure that the beautiful outcomes of this research translate into possible outcomes, which helps to improve lives and communities and every facet of our living. But sometimes you don't have these things happening. That is why a conversation like today's on, that is focusing on research, innovation, commercialization, further together and encapsulated in that single title of unlocking value from research, is more important now than ever. So it is important that we pay attention to this kind of conversation, and we would really love that we engage. Two things. There's going to be a question and answer session. But before we get to question and answer session, if there is any form of question you think you have, which you would want addressed, please ensure that you put it in the chat section and we'll pick it up. We'll be happy to help you answer it from our expert panel. So please do engage with us. Share the link for people to enjoy the session, and we look forward to having a wonderful time. I've been joined by my panel online today. And I quickly want to read their profiles and see if they are on with us and they are ready to carry along. This afternoon, we've been joined by the co-founder and the chief executive of Aquaba Fees Limited. He also happens to be the MD of Whitecap Development Limited, an independent power producer with 200 megawatts utility scale PV solar under development in Saviligu in the northern region of Ghana, with over 15 years of experience in project management. He has worked on a wide range of projects within the private sector with a strong background in project development, permitting, stakeholder engagement, and risk management. He is also responsible for driving growth and strategy implementation at Aquaba Feeds, and drawing from his experience in marketing, Distribution, and Project Management. He holds a BSc in Management Studies from the Central University and a professional diploma in marketing from the Chartered Institute of Marketing UK. And finally, a certificate in management and economics, that is the London Chamber of Commerce and Industry, UK. Help me welcome upstage, our virtual upstage, Mr. Ernest Ajeni Mbwatin. Hi, Ernest. Hello, Ernest. Can anybody hear me at all?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great, but
Yes,
do we have
can hear you.
Hi, Ernest. If you can hear me, can you give me a high five? Okay, as we wait for Ernest to probably connect or fix his line, we would want to go on and then take our second panel member. She is a hub manager and runs the WAF, that is the Women in Arts, Tourism and Hospitality Hub in the Ashanti region, Kumasi of Ghana. Apart from the fact that her hub forms part of the Ghana Hub Network, she is also a stand member of Women in Philanthropy Ghana and the Africa Youth Philanthropy Network. In the course of reading resource and enterprise and entrepreneurship as a degree course at the University of Energy and Natural Resources, she co-started a business with her twin sister, that is L&L Hair Organic Treatment Palace, where they produce hair products using organic raw materials. At the moment, their award-winning brand is up and running, and they sell in Ghana and beyond. She has hosted several events and ceremonies since she was a student, and this she continues to do. She has won awards for being the Mistress of Ceremonies of the Year on several occasions. Please help me welcome upstage Miss Louisa Chutri. Hi, Louisa.
Hi, King David.
Oh,
it's good to be here.
Great. Oh, it's good to hear from you too. I trust you're doing well.
Yes, please. How do you do?
I'm doing well. I wish I could say how do you do too, but I would say how I'm doing well. Okay, great. So
Ken,
we want
can
to go
you hear me
on to
now?
yeah, great, Ernest. How are you?
I'm good. Good.
Because your company name is Aquaba, I would say Aquaba.
But that's it. Louisa, nice to meet you again.
Nice meeting you, Master Ernest.
Good.
Great. So we'll take our last profile, the profile of our last panelist, and not the least. He is a dedicated UDS lecturer with a background in agricultural technology, specializing in irrigation and mechanization. He holds an MPhil in soil and water conservation and management, and he is on the verge of completing a PhD in drainage and flood control. His lifelong mission is to employ rigorous research methodologies to enhance the agricultural value chain that is driven by a passion for positively impacting the lives of resource-poor farmers, as evidenced in his extensive collaborative work with organizations such as USAID FinGap, the Saba Blue in Germany, Embrapa in Brazil, and his participation in the RSSP project from France. Help me welcome to our virtual stage, Blege Precious Kweku. Hi, Kweku.
Yeah, hi, David.
I hope you're doing well.
I'm excellent.
Oh, I love the dynamic nature of our panel. We have an out-and-out entrepreneur. We also have an ecosystem enabler who also happens to be an entrepreneur herself. And then we have the academia. We couldn't have asked for anything more than this. And I am glad that I'm moderating this panel. So like I mentioned earlier, today we are looking at research, innovation, and commercialization. And we have subtitled it Further Together. How do we unlock value from research? And as I intimated in my introduction, we all would agree that research plays a vital role in fostering innovation and driving value creation. It is basically the foundation for new ideas, discoveries, and advancements in every field that you can ever think of, from archaeology to zoology. Through research, innovative solutions are developed, and it leads to the creation of new products, services, technologies, and what have you. Today, we are asking ourselves a number of questions that will be able to take us from just research to how do we innovate around it and eventually commercialize it through the value that will be created from it. And that is the job of our panelists today. For me, I am here to talk, but it is the job of our panelists to really drill down into the issues and give us nuggets for us to take away. So without much ado, we want to just go into the session for today. But once again, we want to say thank you so much to iSpace Foundation and its partners, RISA, the UK International Development, and all the partners who have made this session possible. I will start with although the flyer had Ernest first, I love the mantra that ladies first. So I'll come to you first, Louisa. We want to take it from this angle. A lot of the times, oh, sorry, my mic was muted for a moment. Sorry. A lot of times, I come to you, Louisa. We would agree that we know there's so much value in research. Think about what is conducted in the works. If somebody wants to launch a new product, they're going to conduct research. If the government wants to initiate a new policy, they would want to conduct research. We all agree that research is great. But what do you think from your perspective, where you sit as a hub manager and as an entrepreneur yourself, what are some of the key challenges that really comes up in one conducting research and more subsequently unlocking the value of research? So what are the key challenges when it comes to unlocking the value that lies in research?
Thank you very much for the question, Ken David. All right, so I would actually, from my point of perspective as an entrepreneur and a hub manager, one main challenge is the problem of resource, or simply put, resource constraints. When we talk about resources, it can be looked at in various forms. Financial resources, that would be like the basic problem of every entrepreneur. We need funds. But the other resources like human resources, having the right personnel to work with in the workspace, even with our hub work, having the good team to work with, the database, the people that are your target audience, having them is even a problem. And so one is resource. And another one I would say is communication gaps. Because in just a sense of being, when you just see research, people be like, that is something so it's time consuming. And so the idea of research in the minds of people is very something which is outrightly ambiguous. But I would say that if we are able to break down our level of communication and improve how we communicate, taking out lots of jargons, because when someone sees, for example, a flyer or sees something, I would say my brand has communicated or put out, when that person reads it, outrightly, that person has just decoded that, I just don't qualify. But on the grounds, that person would qualify and then beyond. So these are the basic two I would touch on as challenges of researching. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Louisa. So Louisa says the resource constraints, which goes beyond even just the money, but finding the right people would help in that direction, and then the lack of clear communication. That's interesting. I'll come to you, Akwaba. Hi, Ernest.
Yes, Ken.
Yes, from your perspective, what do you think it is?
Well, I would take it from
challenges that would
the research. I mean, the Spirit of the Lord hovers on the surface of the earth. For me, I think that the Spirit of the Lord was researching. If you want to look at the biblical aspect of the Bible, when it said that the Spirit of the Lord was hovering over the surface of the earth or on the waters, it was trying to discover something. And so research is very, very important to the human endeavor, industry, academia. But for me as an industry person, I know the importance of research, but looking at the meager resources that I have, Do I continue to do what I do and the old knowledge to get some results, or use my little resources to engage in new discovery? Very challenging. And that's the decision that we face as entrepreneurs, because there's no connection between the academia or the research institutions and also the industries. And government is not funding all these things to help us to innovate. And research is also the basis for which every innovation exists. And so, yes, we know the importance of it, but the challenges also confront us. So overseas or developed countries where there are funds where institutions can apply and then get some financial resources to engage in research. So my company has involved in certain research and all those things. But as we get into the topic and we discuss, then I will be able to share some practical experience of what we've done as an organization in terms of research and some of the practical challenges that we face and what we are stuck with. So this is my initial comment.
Interesting that you talked about the practical challenges. I'll come back to you in a moment, but I want to take the initial comments also from Kweku, from his uncle as an academia. I know a lot of times, I think one of the conversations that always came up, even during the strike period from UTAG and all of that, research allowance has not been increased and all of that. Yes, it brings some nostalgic moments. So from your perspective, what are your initial comments? And if you want to dive into the challenges too, please feel free.
Thank you very much. Taking it from where Edes just ended, going biblical, Bible says you should replenish and domineer, which means that wherever God has created, you've discovered, there's a need for you to multiply it. And in view of that, realize that research takes a pivotal role in our day-to-day activities, trying to come up with new technologies that could actually enhance productivity and what have you. One of the key things that affect we researchers when it comes to academia is access to barriers, which is talking about restricted access to research findings due to paywalls. Sometimes it's very difficult to access some of these online articles to carry out research because of the price tag on it. Yeah, sometimes even the subscription fees are quite challenging for especially our students to actually access information to improve existing maybe papers or articles or journals that have been put across. So sometimes it's challenging for them to actually access them. One other thing that also affects research when it comes to academia, it's a siloed research system where maybe one person is trying to do research without collaboration. Sometimes it can limit potential impacts and capabilities. So I would suggest that moving forward, there's a need for us to collaborate in coming out with well-grounded research documents that can guide our research environment. I think I'll hold it for now as we continue.
Interesting. You touched on restricted access to research findings by what, and you summarize that by saying the price tag restrictions, especially for students, and even something by academia because of the kind of price tag that are placed on research findings. And of course, that would be a stumbling block to unlocking the value that may lie in such a research. And you end by saying that you want to encourage collaborations. And I think that's a good point that we would come back to on. So I'll come back to you, Ernest. You began the dive into the challenges by talking about the practical challenges. And I believe that is one of the reasons why iSpace is having these conversations. iSpace doesn't want to leave this conversation as another thing that doesn't lead to any action steps. And what a way to get into action steps than sharing practical experiences. So tell us about the practical challenges that you have faced in your line of business in accessing and unlocking the value of research? Ernest.
Yeah, thank you, David. So we have been involved in a number of research. So we, with the USID, have a maggot farm where we're trying to incorporate a maggot meal using black soldier fly as part of the resources that we need. And so which we build a facility, we've done everything. Now, how do we then commercialize it? Because it's a new area, we don't have a lot of people who have that experience in the area of black soldier fly and then maggot meal. We try to work with the animal research, which was also a new area. So as I speak to you now, we are not able to commercialize it, but even though research has shown that, that would also help us to reduce our cost of feed, because we're going to collect all the waste in the market or all organic waste, and then we'll be able to use them, every waste from the factory. And so the plan was for us to become a zero wasted company, and everything will go into feeding the maggot. But because it's a new area in Ghana and government are not even seeing the importance of it, and so the researchers and the professors are not getting enough funding to be able to help us commercialize. Now, the other thing has to do with one project, water hyacinth, that I was also working with the water research. It can be done, but the difficulty is that you are also not being protected as the struggle of getting the protection once you put your research work, and how easy can other organizations also just pick what you've done and then also begin to incorporate it. So we're working with the water research, but the challenge that and the fear is that it's so easy once the research finding is done with all the trials that you go through and the publication is out. It's so easy for any industry or any organization to pick that research and then go and start implementing it. You cannot patent some of these things because, for instance, water hyacinth are weeds that grows on the river bodies. We know that they have some good element that can be used for poultry and pig feed. Yes, but who have done the trials? Yes, trials have been done in other jurisdictions that they are certain. But when it comes to animal science, I'm sure Prof will tell you, if that is his field of study, you need to conduct a localized trial to ensure that all the parameters that you want to use are right. But the moment I finish my research and I know that I can use water hyacinth, the next day my competitor can start going to the Volta River, collecting the water hyacinth and start using it. But I might have incurred a lot of cost in trying to do that. So that is some of the challenges. The one thing is that most of the accepting new ways of doing things, all right? So you begin to speak even to your potential customers that, okay, this is new ingredient. So the farmer, that this is a new ingredient that you want to introduce. You begin to receive a lot of skepticism from them. And so it doesn't also encourage you because they have stuck their mind to using maize and corn and all those things. But that is one of the things that is killing our industry, the poultry industry. But there are so many things that can be done. So for instance, if they are, we know that we can use the chaff from the orange juice. So the company that produce orange juice, the chaff in the that they get can be used for poultry feed. But we don't have the resources to go into these kind of things. So there are many alternatives that can be used to bring the cost of production down to probably about 30%. But we don't have the resources to be able to do. As I, in my opening remarks, if I have money to carry on my overheads and continue to do what I'm doing gradually to get some little success, would I want to still spend a lot of money into diving into new areas? So it's difficult unless that there's some dedicated fund or Prof is giving some resources that we can write to them as industry and say that, Prof, this is an area of interest. These are things, alternatives that we want you to research into them for us. So once we're able to partner with the academia and tell them exactly what the industry needs, all right, that makes Prof's work more relevant. So I don't know how they pick if they partner the industries to do their research, or it's just based on some information available. But if there's that collaboration, and then I go to Prof and say, Prof, this is my industry. I know that I can use this raw materials as alternative. Can you apply for this research funding? And then let's work together to be able to practicalize it and then commercialize it. So these are some of the practical experience that I want to share.
This is really interesting because it's a bit. I love the contrasting view at the end. Before the end, where you talked about the fact that the challenge, one of the main challenges, how you could easily lose the outcomes of your research, which has been the result of painstaking efforts and resources, and it could easily fall into the hands of somebody else who can pick it up because you just published. But then Prof, on the other hand, also talked about how sometimes they can't get access to some of these research work because of the price tag. So I don't know whether we are now thinking of if Ernest wants to now protect his research and wants to ensure even whoever is going to access it needs to have paid for it. I'll come back to you, Prof, before I go to Louisa. Do you think one of the ways he could do this is to still put the price tag on it like you were trying to avoid?
Yeah, thank you very much. In fact, I love and that's what they are doing over there. But sorry, I'm not yet a prof.
It's because you started talking about Bible. I'm prophesying now.
Yes, you definitely get there.
I receive it. I receive it. Thank you. Yeah, I like the research they are doing there. I think even moving ahead, there are people who are even into hydroponics now. I think hydroponics is gradually settling into our country. Yeah. With the price tag, normally it's with the publications online, but not directly to the projects which maybe someone is doing. For example, you go online, we have the Elsevier, we have the other publishing houses that are charging high prices because of tailor-made work that has been published. So you see, there can be collaborations. There can be collaborations. Once you come in and you sell out what you have, and it's quite economical and convincing. I mean, there are some researchers who will buy into it, especially those in the animal sector, especially those doing animal husbandry, animal science, and what have you. I think they could do further research to see why people may not be interested, or why people will be interested in what you are doing. Poultry is moving largely in the country recently, I think by far. And feeding of the birds, I think, is one of the main challenges, because moving from, I think, for 5 to 3, 4 years now, feed for poultry birds have been so challenging. I quite remember last year, a lady has a poultry farm around Kaswa area, and she was trying to look for feed. In fact, we have to move even to the villages to even look for some maize and soil for her. Even with that, it's someone's local farm that we could get some 30 to 40 bags for her, which means that there should be alternatives in the system that could help the poultry farmer. So with NS, once we come on board, I think we could find out how and why maybe people are not buying so much into, especially those in academia, are not buying so much into your innovation. Yeah, I think I'll leave that one there. But one other thing that I think can improve our research is making visual aids quite transparent and present, not so complex, for people to actually assimilate. Sometimes people present data for research work, and it's sometimes not convincing, but maybe with some video or infographics, I think research can by large be more accessible and convincing. Yeah. So I think I'll end here, then maybe.
Interesting. I think we've had so much, even though it was just after the opening thoughts, and most of the things we have looked at discussing have popped up in bits and pieces. So I think I want to go back to Louisa. Hi, are you there?
Hi, I'm here.
Great. So coming back to you, I think we've talked about the challenges and a bit of opportunities for unlocking value. And I think some of the opportunities we had Ernest talking about the partnerships. We also had Kweku talking about the collaborations. So we want to also move on. If you have anything on that direction, opportunities, you can top it up. But as you top it up, I want you to now start talking about some of the best practices that you think, like the challenge Ernest just posed, the best practices for sharing and disseminating research results, and how we can make them more accessible and understandable to the public. And I believe that from where you sit as a hub manager and an entrepreneur yourself, a lot of research conversations would have gone on. So from your thoughts, how do you think people who are looking forward to some best practices can go about disseminating the research results? Because one of the key ways of unlocking the value of research is knowing that this kind of data exists before you can make the most out of it. So how do you think it can be done?
All right, thank you. So I'd like to add one last, because they've said it all regarding the opportunities.
Great.
We can look at the public and private partnerships between some public organizations and some private enterprises. It's not going to be as simple though, but at least we could find like a good grounds to establish such a partnership. Move on straight to the question. Yes, it's really crucial, and I'm looking at using plain language. We live in a society where we have different grades of people. People have how they understand things. You would want to mean A, but someone will interpret it as C or D. And so creating much infographic and visuals, I think it's very important. And I will say it's a key point when disseminating such information to the general public or the general plenary. Because as I said earlier, I had an instance where we circulated a flyer. We actually gave all the requirements and left an email and then a number for the plenary to text us or send us a message when they have any sort of problems. We had lots of people trooping in telling us that, is this what's supposed to mean? Is this what's supposed to mean? So then our communications manager took the time to break down things one after the other. Meanwhile, from our end, we thought we had just released a very nice flyer with all the very critical details. And so then we sat down, we're like, okay, so I think this is how our team can work on our flyers so that the general public won't have any problem. And so in my mind, I was like, so is this how other organizations are facing? Because if you are somewhere in your office, you sit down, you and your team come up with a nice flyer, and people sit somewhere and literally interpret it differently. At the end of the day, even your target audience you're not going to even get it because of the interpretation they have gotten or they've drawn it, everything is already down the drain. Yes. And I also say that we should try as much as possible and use plain language. The communication is the lifeblood of every organization. And this is not an era where technical jargons and complex languages are supposed to be used. I believe in clarity and being concise, because we are serving a diverse audience. And so look at the complexity or ambiguity and just a lot of costs you're even going to incur if you don't use plain language. So that's the little I would say about disseminating information.
Interesting. I'll come back to you, Doc and Prof in the making. You do a lot of research, I'm sure, most of your work. And I think until I heard about the research allowance, I didn't really know the amount of work you had academics like you, how much of your work was contributing to research work. So from your end, you have been doing research over and over again. And I'm sure you have tons on your table as you are looking at your doctorate and your professorship. So how do you think that beyond what Melissa just mentioned, talking about using infographics, plain language to really break it down to people to understand, how else do you think that people who are thinking of best practices can go about sharing and disseminating information and making it available from research?
Thank you very much. I think taking it from where Louisa just ended, workshops and public talks are also very important in the carrying out research. Yeah, there are some times where you have taught the thing in class, maybe try to expatiate on maybe a particular project you want to even carry out in teaching the people what you want them to do. If actually you don't engage in enough public talks, especially collaborating with the journalists, yeah, you may end up having your researchers in class, but not actually getting to the right people you want it to get to. Another thing too is that in organizing the workshop, your information must actually get to the people directly. Where you apply maybe either a top-down approach or bottom-up approach. But when doing that, you should ensure that the people understand what you want to do, then you can know the kind of approach you even use. So workshops and public talks are very, very important. There was a time a student we have a third trimester field program as a university. And this student went to the community. He could not speak the local language. And he need a key information to know the profile of the community. And the key informant that he met could not also speak English. So you see there's a language barrier over there. But by engaging someone in the community who could understand both English and the Dagban
local language
they could speak, you realize that there could be a direct flow of information, and what actually they needed for their work was actually gotten. So you see that public talks are very important to get the right information that you need. Another thing too, which is very important, is interactive tools. You see, there are a lot of online tools now that can be used. At least one can talk about the recent ones, which is Uprising, which is Chat GPT. Yeah, you could employ that as a guide. I mean, you may not get the exact information, on the ground, but at least one of these tools can also help you develop a very good information pertaining to your research that can guide you or solve a particular solution that you need. Let me add this thing to it, which some people don't like when it comes to research. They feel it might downplay their research, which is feedback mechanisms. Yeah, feedback. People actually don't like it because in academia, people want to brag about what they are doing. So they don't want to get feedback. They feel if I should do this or carry out this research, it should actually get to the people and they should accept it. No, I don't think it's the best. It's very important you get the feedback from them, establish a very good channel for the feedback, and you realize that what you are doing, there could be even more further information that can aid you in your work. For example, with the project that NS is doing, probably if you should get to the locals and they get to understand what is happening, getting feedback from them, I think we even improve more on what they are doing, and they may even buy more into it. So in trying to get the feedback from them, you are involving them in what you are doing, and they're also getting involved in you. So they kind of appreciate you more, and through that you could actually get more collaborations from them. Yeah, so I would like to end here. Yeah.
Interesting. Ernest, any thoughts on that? On this as we move to the next question. And just before we end, we head towards the end. If you have any questions, kindly put it in the chat section so that you don't forget. We'll pick it up, or you want to write it down. When we get to the question and answer section, we'll get to you. So please don't be bothered. We'll come to you, our participants. So Ernest, what do you think? Any thoughts before we get to the last?
Yeah, I think that they've made valid points in terms of how we should proceed with our research and the kind of structures that need to be put in place. So I think it's very much in order.
Great. So then I'll come to you on our third question. We are talking about the roles, and we have touched a bit on it. The roles that the various stakeholders have to play when we want to unlock the value of research. We talk about the challenges, how do we bring it out, and all of that. So the value that lies in research, from your perspective, I wish I could say business, but we have somebody who's a hub manager and an entrepreneur. But I know you have done work with public private partnership and all that. What do you think the critical role of government is in unlocking the value of research? Then after you, I would go to Louisa for her to take the angle of business and civil society. But I am Ernest, since you have a bit of business, you have business as well, you can touch it on it a bit. So in just about 3 minutes, you can pick that. And then I'll go to Doc on the role of academia in unlocking the value of research. So first to you, Ernest, what is the role of government and then businesses?
I think that looking at the limited resources that it's at disposal, research should be directed and more focused. So if I have my own way, before the research fund has a very limited resources. So before these monies will be dispensed to lecturers, every lecturer is entitled to some research allowance. If I was in that position, I would cancel that. I'm sure Doc will not be happy. My reasons are that before you engage into a research, you should have received a proposal from an industry writing to the researcher and saying that you are a specialist in animal nutritionist. These are the alternative Amakaba feeds, and these are areas that I think that we want to collaborate to research into it. Once we're able to justify, and then put an adequate budget in place, government look at it, is happy, then government fund it fully. So that at the end of the day, that research. Hello?
Hello, Ernest, I'm losing, we are losing you. I don't know what I said. Yeah, we're losing you, please.
So I took my problem to the university. We sat down, we agreed, and then they helped me to get into the research. Once I get a finding, I'm going to implement because it's based on need assessment. And so it will be of value to me because this is a request coming from an industry based on their needs, so that it wouldn't become a blanket application of the fund because it's very limited. So if it can be guided in this way, then we'll have value for money. Okay, so that for me, that is how government should structure those things. But because it shouldn't be a blanket to any professor, it should be a request coming from industry. It should be a request coming from the ministry. It should be a request from an agency that can pick that research and implement it, so that by the time that we spend money, that research will not be sitting on the shelves.
Interesting. I would term this proposal a radical proposal because I don't know how Doc would respond to it. But are you done with yours? What the role of government is?
Yes.
Okay, so go on to the bit of the business, and I'll go and take Doc on his response.
So it's still in line with that direction because we know as business we need all these things that can help us in terms of reducing production costs. So research is very, very fundamental. Other than that, we keep doing the things we do without getting any improved results. So if you go to elsewhere, they're able to raise their broilers within 6 weeks, 5 weeks. They have the required weight, making their cost of production down. That is why they're able to import a lot of frozen chicken to us at a cheaper price, even though they get subsidy. But they found better way of feeding them to gain the required weight within a very short possible time. In Ghana here, yes, we are doing 8 weeks, 9 weeks, some are doing 12 weeks to gain the same probably 2.5 kilos per bed. And so to us, it's just if you don't have a better way of doing things, your cost of production will keep going up, and then you become very expensive. That is why the cost of doing business is expensive in Ghana, because we've not found a better and alternative way of doing other things. It's the same Gorgesburg method that we still use in our business operations.
Interesting thoughts, interesting. So I would go to Louisa, then I'll come to Doc. So Louisa, from your angle where you sit, as an entrepreneur, and of course, the hubs are classified as usually CSOs. Where do you think, what do you think is your role as we look at unlocking the value of research?
All right. So where I said advocacy and awareness is one key role we do in helping to unlock the value of research. There was a time we deal with women in arts, tourism, and hospitality. And so we went on campuses. We used the Kane University campus. We went there with our team. We raised the awareness, and it wasn't research though, but it was about a project. But it even eventually ended in research. And so what we did is we made sure that the participants understood. It wasn't any ordinary seminar or any ordinary session that we held, but we made sure at the end of the day, our plenary understood the value of what we were giving to them. Because people sometimes have this mindset like, oh, it's just like a normal program, so I'm going to sit in and just participate at the end of the day. But after that, we gave out some feedback forms. It's very important, and I'm very keen on communication, because at the end of the day, it's of no use if your target audience are still the same. We make sure like they were impacted. And so through that advocacy and awareness campaign we did, we saw that it was really, really impactful in their lives, at least at that time. Another thing is the capacity building and the community engagement. This is something I think positions us differently in the space of where we find ourselves as a hub manager and as an entrepreneur. Making sure that bringing things or downscaling things to their level is something they really value. Talking about the target audience, with our hub, we looked at women and girls in arts, tourism, and hospitality. Some didn't even have the idea, but after the engagement and after the capacity building sessions, we could see they were really open and really poised to do more. So these are the key roles, important ones we do play. Thank you.
Capacity, awareness and advocacy campaigns, and then capacity building, community engagement on the part of entrepreneurs. Lastly to you, Doc, what's your role, academia, in unlocking the value?
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think Ernest made some good points over there, which I really appreciate, and it's good. You know, one of the key things we do in the university, let me say the three main things when it comes to academia related to research. We do research, we do educate the people, and also knowledge transfer. These are the three key things that when it comes to carrying out information in terms of research to the world. Now, he made mention of, if I'm not mistaken, bringing
the research allowance.
Not the research allowance per se. For a research allowance, it's nothing to write home about, because you can have a paper you are trying to publish in a high impact journal, and the paper is, let's say, $3,000, and you are being given 30,000 Ghana cedis. I mean, that means 3,000 could only publish maybe one paper. 30,000 can publish one paper. So it means that you need more money to publish what? A particular paper, because not only the 3,000 alone, 30,000 alone, but you need to carry out your research in the lab, carry out to know what actually you need and how the need can even impact the society. So you realize that even the 30,000 that you have been given is nothing to write home about. Unless
before you go on to your next point,
before
I brought in the issue of the research allowance. So would you then agree that because there is a need for higher amounts for some of these critical research, you would agree that what NS proposal was actually the right thing to do, so that we would really allocate more to those who really need it in collaboration with industry? Would you then agree that it shouldn't be a blanket research allowance for everybody?
Well, it depends on the field of the researcher. Yes, it depends on the field of the researcher. We are all in different fields. Yes. Yeah. For example, with Ernest, the project in which the project they are carrying out is a very good project. But is that project so glaring, and is it of high quality? Is it relevant You see, that's where we will come from.
These
And
are
is
all
it
things,
addressing?
okay.
Yeah, is it to address real world problems? That
And
then,
one,
then we
please
now
go
go
ahead,
to
please
the
go ahead.
lab. Then we now go to the lab to now come out with all the necessary things that may be needed by the farmer, because the end from our end is what? The farmer, then to the consumer. You see, so his project might be very good based on what he's doing, but what's the impact? What's the science behind what he's doing? That's where we now come in.
Okay. I think we'll come back to that point when we are concluding. So I think that's one of the reasons why we all agreed on the collaboration approach to ensure that it's a good fit between these two all these stakeholders. But then you were going to make an important point beyond the research allowance as to the role of academia, so that we can quickly close here.
Yeah, so for research allowance, it needs to be increased. But, as in Ghana, government gives us directly. But one of my colleagues studied in China, and for them, the professor rolls the grant to them directly. But in Ghana, you must get the grants from other countries before you could roll out, if you have space for that. So they now come in with research grants, which what do you call it? The current one they just gave us. You see that it's nothing to write home about. So if government could adopt the system of other countries, like for China, what they do, where the grant is released to the professor, he now enrolls the students to the university and now gives maybe stipends to the students, and whatever he has, he could also use to run his labs and what have you. I think it will be so good for us to carry out good research. When you go to the Wabib lab in Legon, this is a well-furnished lab. And I think it's one of the best labs in West Africa, if I'm not mistaken. I visited them, I think, last 2 months or so, when we had a Ghana Science Association program. This is a lab well furnished where they can carry out any tailor-made research you want to carry out. But a small university like my place, we don't have such a big lab. So how do we carry such research? So this is where government must also come in, because other lecturers in the university are doing their best to come out with their own equipment. But where is the role of government? So this is very important in to try to educate our younger ones, train them for the next generation and professionals. Yeah, thank you.
I would want to come to you for the last question, but I still want us to walk away with a talking point. So I think we've talked about the role of government, but what do you think? If all things being equal, if everything was in place, what then would be the role of academia? We know you conduct most of the research, but what do you think academia could practically do to unlock the value? Just in case somebody's, I want to go into academia, what would be that tip you would give to me to ensure that as I go into academia and I conduct my research, how do I help to contribute to unlocking the value? How do they make their value, the research relevant?
In making the research relevant, I think training the next generation is very, very important. Next generation of researchers. Is very, very, very key, because if you don't pass on knowledge to the next or your students, how then do you grow in whatever you want to do? For example, in the earlier days, we had this fall army when affecting our crops, and there wasn't any knowledge. This year, CSRR has come up with what? A tolerant variety that could withstand this fall armyworm. There could be other research that is in the pipeline where you can pass on to the next generation on even how to control the entire field with fall armyworm, because fall armyworm, once it invades your farm, it clears off everything on the farm, including the leaves, the produce, whatever. It clears off everything. You see, so knowledge transfer is one of the key things that will help to curb some of these challenges that comes in. Another thing which I think it will be also very important is conducting a high quality relevant research to address real world problems. High quality. You see, in our part of the country, because we don't have equipment to conduct that kind of research, even cost involved. You pick a sample from, let's say, I'm in Tamale, by the time the sample reaches Legon, it's contaminated. Well, because you don't the equipment to carry out what a very good research. For example, if Ernest will carry out to bring out maybe samples from his farm, I don't know where they are located, to now engage with maybe the lecturer who's an animal scientist. Once that lecturer doesn't have the equipment to help him this thing, or even the cost of the material he's bringing, around the line, maybe there could be some contaminants. So you see, so trying to get out the right information from what he is bringing could be a challenge. So he might have to send maybe lecturer who maybe the expert is not even there. See, so
Interesting.
High cost and the equipment in trying to carry out research, it's quite challenging. Yeah, so if you get some of those things in place, I think much will be convinced because people are ready to work.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doc. At this point, I think it's information overload, and that is why it is important that we come to the end of today's session. But of course, you can't come to the end without tackling the last question. And this, I'll take 1 point from each of our panelists in just about a minute. And then we leave the next 7 minutes for questions, comments, and feedback from our participants today. So we talk about challenges at the very beginning. We talk about opportunities. How do we think we can overcome the barriers that we've talked about, some of the costs, some of the lack of proper communication? How do we think we can overcome the barriers now to collaboration, such as lack of trust? Because sometimes people are wondering whether if I give you my information, it will just not go somewhere like Ernest was fearing, or the different cultures that might exist based on where you're conducting the research, or maybe simply because of different priorities. Maybe the priority of the entrepreneur is different from the priority of the academia he is trying to connect with on this particular project, or even government, what their priorities lie. So what do we think from each of you? I would want to pick one from each of you to tell us, what do we think we can practically do to overcome such barriers that could exist in advocating for collaboration? Who's going to go first? Just one from each of us.
Okay.
Is that Ernest?
This is Precious.
Oh, Precious,
Yes,
please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. I think this discussion has been so fruitful, and I'm even learning a lot from my other colleague panelists. It's a good one. I think one of the things is effective communication. Effective communication. So not just communication, but it should be effective. Yeah. With that, using clear and inclusive language to avoid misunderstandings. You see, you need to use clear language. I mean, if it is A, it's A. You don't say A, B, C, and now come back to A. You say you end up confusing the people in buying into what you are trying to come out with. So use clear and inclusive language to avoid misunderstanding. Yes.
Okay. Great.
Let me put in this. You should also establish regular meetings and check-ins to maintain alignment.
Okay.
Yeah. Can I give an example on this?
Quick one in 30 seconds, please.
Quick one. Okay, thank you. There was a project I tried to run with someone, and I trusted a farmer who is, I think, high learned, and he wasn't doing check-up on the people. And recently, onions on a high purchase, and the guy was not there, so the people applied the chemicals wrongly. The harvesting that was done poorly, and in fact, we lost about 70% of the project. Why? Because there wasn't check-ins. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you very much. So regular check-ins and meetings, and then using clear and inclusive language to ensure effective communication, avoid misunderstanding. I'll come to you, Ernest, then I'll come to Louisa last to wrap it up for us.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. I strongly think that research should be taken serious in this country, because it's the foundation of every innovation that we are seeing. Nothing comes by just sitting down. We need to invest in as a country. I mean, if you go to other countries, the government that are providing a lot of these resources to researchers and bringing all these innovations. And if you see the budget of the Pentagon, how the government is giving a lot of money. And some of these technologies that were developed by Pentagon now are being commercialized. usually was just used by the military. And some technologies have been with the military over 50 years, and it's now that it's commercialized. And so with that research, we cannot develop as a country. And so we should see it as an important tool of national development. Thank you.
See that as an important tool of national development. And we'll come to you, Louisa. How do we overcome these barriers?
All right, thank you very much. So quickly, I would say we should try to clarify common goals, or we should have a common grounds for operation. My help, for example, we have an upcoming program. This program is actually going to bring together on the same grounds beauticians. You're going to have people run the fashion show, experts in the hair industry. A lot of things are going to go on. And so looking at this, everyone has a different opinion. We always say that opinions are like noses. And so that should not be a basis for enmity between us. But trying to find something common for us to work with, I think will actually bring us together irrespective of our individual priorities.
Having a common goal would ensure that irrespective of our individual priorities, we would work towards the same goal. Somebody wanted to say something? Oh, okay. I thought someone wanted to say something. And thank you so much, Louis.
Okay.
You wanted to say something, Precious?
Yeah, I would like to visit Eda's company.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yes,
the collaboration has started.
You are very much welcome to our facility.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Ken also, we work with EnnoHub when we're raising our funding from Wangara. Wangara is one of our investing companies, investors. So I'm sure we would like to see you there.
I think we'll exchange mails, and I'll communicate with our animal science department, and maybe something can come. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a huge facility that we would want to give out for the research on the black soldier flies. So this was financed by the USAID under the Ghana Poultry Project.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. And it looks like iSpace has achieved one of its goals. One of the themes around this conversation was collaboration in the research. And it looks like they've achieved one by getting a collaboration happening right here. And that is what we'll look out for, conversations that will drive change. And today's focus has been on innovation. So I don't know if we have any questions in the chat. Anybody, you can kindly raise your hand. I would quickly call you to kindly send in your question. But before that, I think there was a comment by Alex, and he said the price tag on research findings. Who benefits from that money? Is it not the researchers who publish it, or who gets that money? I think somebody mentioned it. I think was it Doc? He said it's not really even the researcher, but the platforms. Quick question, a quick answer from either Doc or Ernest. So he's asking if the price tag that you find on research findings, like Doc was talking about, the huge money that you'll be charged for accessing the research online. Who gets the money?
I think Doc should be in a position to, but my earlier submission was that if I work with water research, for instance, to come up with a research, and it gets, because the kind of research are not very complex research, but they're very expensive. So for instance, the alternative, and everybody now sees that you can easily use water hyacinth and it's safe and all those things. The entry barrier, certain research, especially in our field, the entry barrier is very low. Once I break that, invest in the initial cost of getting the research funding out, my competitor can easily do because they know it's a safe avenue now. If I research into the fact that I can use the chaff from oranges in replacing wheat brine or rice brine, they can easily do it. But who's going to take the cost of feeding? You need to feed about 2,000 birds. Now to feed 2,000 birds, it will cost you 150,000 Ghana cedis for 6 months before they start laying birds. If you just have 2,000 birds, and 2,000 birds is not a big farm, it's a backyard farm, okay? And to feed 2,000 is going to cost you 150,000 just on their feeding. before they start laying eggs. So would I want to pick
Interesting.
that kind of cost to be able to go and get all these and taking the samples, some of the analysis, you need to do it in SA. You need to either send your samples to Holland, some of the parameters and the approximate analysis, you need to send it to Holland or Belgium and all those things that are quite expensive. So we don't also have well-equipped labs here. If Doc would admit that we don't have, because some of the parameters, even when you go to standard boards, they can't do it for you. You need to take them outside.
I think Doc already agreed that we don't, even that's one of the things that he was advocating for, that government should really invest into these high quality resource labs that would help with the kind of research that people are looking for. So I think Doc even agreed on that point earlier on. Yes. But Doc, do you want to answer the question, who gets the money on the price tag? Is it the researcher or just the platforms? Or that's the
Thank you
question for
very
another
much.
day?
Thank you very much. Well, I would say both gets the money.
Both, yeah. Okay.
Both gets the money, but the chunk of the money goes to the platforms.
The platforms.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
Again, we had sorry, I'm running through the chat. Just want to make sure somebody said, Daniel Chemartin said, without any roadmap for financing research and innovation by the government, do you think there is any hope of creating value from research? Because many of our basic problems remain unsolved. I think this has been me. Thank you very much for that. The government has a role to play, but of course the entrepreneur, the hubs, CSOs and other organizations, as have been explained by our expert panel, we all do have a role to play, but we can never downplay the critical role of government. So thank you very much, Daniel, for bringing that comment through. We just want to make sure that nobody's comment has been left unread. We've seen people sharing some links and all of that. Thank you for that, for the engagement. Dr. Emmanuel Chilibor says that we need perception innovation as well. It's a bridge between technological and social innovation. Thank you for that. We also have Michael says, Michael from UDS, Nankpala campus, Doc, we have somebody joining from your school and they really enjoyed the meeting. He says that how can we mentor the youth, students to embrace research? And I think Doc talked about the fact that that academia needs to take an active role in mentoring the next generation of researchers. So it'll be very important for us to be very deliberate about this. Please don't go yet. We're going to take a quick photo to mark this important conversation, a quick group photo. So please don't go yet. Ibrahim says that he will want to remind us that we'll share the recording. Yes, I'm sure iSpace Foundation, once you receive this information and you sign up, you should be able to get access to it, because that is the whole goal of these conversations. Dr. Emmanuel Chimera comes again and says effective communication is the linchpin to change management. Thank you very much for just reiterating the point that was made by our panel. Alidu says, please drop your LinkedIn URL for us to connect with you. So yes, please, kindly, expert panel, if you can drop your LinkedIn profiles, and then you can also go on and follow iSpace Foundation on LinkedIn. You can get access on LinkedIn and across their social media channels. You get access to such important conversations. Yes, I think basically, Junior comes in the last comment and says, during my undergrad, I worked with Cashew and a colleague. My colleague did with black soda flies on new feed. I think the works are done need some scaling. Okay, black soda flies. I think this is somebody who would interest Ernest. So maybe Ernest, once Ernest shares his LinkedIn profile, you can connect with him and see what collaborations can be earned from there. Guys, as we end, can you kindly put your cameras together and let's mark this wonderful conversation we've just had with just a group photo as we end off. Don't worry, you might be on the go. Some of us are actually close to the beach somewhere attending another conference, and we had to jump into this. So don't be afraid. This is the value of virtual work. Yes. So please turn your videos on. Yes. So Shanessa, are you going to take the photo? Please turn on your videos for just a moment. And maybe you could smile too, to show you're happy with the session we had today. Okay, Fatima, you're the only one we're waiting for. And Doc, you contributed so much, we're waiting for you. Michael Aka, Charlotte Nimatu. Okay. Great. Maybe some might not be able to turn on their cameras, but at least you've got a lot of
Can you
you
see me,
turning
please?
on. Pardon?
I think my camera is on.
Oh, it's on. Yes, we can see you. We can see you.
Thank you.
Okay. So guys, thank you very much, everybody. Remember that this is the first of two conversations that is happening. The next one is going to happen at the same time next week. We're going to have another interesting conversation happening here on Zoom. So look out for the information on the iSpace Foundation's social media platforms, on LinkedIn and other places, and you won't miss out on this. Our closing words to you are that let's embrace research because it forms the foundation of everything that we want to see happening around us, being new products, being championing change management like Dr. Chinua talked about. It plays a vital role in bringing in new knowledge, improving existing processes, and fostering advancements in technology in every field of our lives. So please, if you're an entrepreneur, engage in research, find innovative ways and ensuring that the research value is unlocked. If you are in academia, please collaborate with industry. And if you are an ESO or CSO like a hub manager, see how you can play a critical role in enabling your startups who are working with your businesses to embrace research and help to unlock the value that lies in there. My name is King David, and it has been a pleasure moderating this session. Thank you so much once again to you, Doc. It has been very wonderful receiving your insights. Thank you so much to you, Louisa. And then thank you so much to you, Ernest. Louisa, your hand is up. You wanted to say something?
Yes, please. I actually want to use this opportunity to actually invite everyone here. Our hub is collaborating with our other partners where we have my entrepreneurship, the one I run, my twin sister. It's called the Beauty Revolution Expo. It's going to be happening at the Accra Technical University. It's free. Yes, free entry. It's going to be happening on the 2nd December. Yes, 2nd of December. So all and sundry are invited. It will consist a lot of things from our ladies, tutorials, free hair braiding, talking of the collaboration we talked about, and the capacity building space. There'll be master classes held. So I wanted to use this opportunity to invite everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So how do we find more information on this so that if anybody wants to have a reminder?
Yes, you can actually, I'm going to send the flyer so it can be shared. Also, you can actually contact 055 74 33 208.
208. Okay, so I just typed it in there, and then I'm sure we'll be able to reach out for any information.
On our social media handle and Instagram, beauty_expo.
Okay, yes. Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we thank you for these collaborations that are already happening. And I'm sure we will look forward to seeing each other there. All who can, please make it a point to be there. And my whole takeaway, aside telling us about how to overcome the collaboration, capacity building, and community engagement, having a common goal, regular meeting, and all of that, what I loved the most came at the very beginning when our two pastors, Ernest and Doc, said at the beginning, the Spirit of God was brooding over the waters, and they are very sure he was conducting research. Please don't miss out on conducting research and bringing out new information and helping to enhance our knowledge base. Thank you very much. And we say do enjoy the rest of your day. I don't know, Chanessa, whether you have any information you want to give us to get close out. Thank you very much.
We're having another call, another panel next week, same time, on intellectual property. And so we'll share details on that via email, and whichever way you had this link, I'm sure you received it. So that'll be all for now.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. And please do enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.